Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you're watching another live edition of the LockerGnome Daily Report, or TLDR for short, your daily dose of geek news, product views, and answers that you can use, like an answer to the question, Chris, are you a brony? Now, I've already answered that question. I do have a My Little Pony figurine cheese sandwich, and the reason why it's cheese sandwich, and I'm not a brony, but I think bronies are pretty awesome. I got cheese sandwich because Weird Al Yankovic voices cheese sandwich, and so I thought it would be appropriate for me to have cheese sandwich. And then I was told that there was this My Little Pony, at least now available, Doctor Who's. It's Doctor Who. It's my doctor in a pony. That's definitely Tennant. And you see he has an hourglass there, Time Lord kind of thing with My Little Pony and Doctor Who's. I got this. I exchanged some of my redeem codes to be able to get this. You can get your own redeem codes by heading over to go.tagjag.com/free apps or go.tagjag.com/free points. And then you too can have a My Little Pony. I never thought I'd want My Little Pony, but Jedi will inherit Doctor Who's, assuming she might like My Little Pony. We'll see. Ooh, this one's really heavy. Okay, who cares about the box, plastic, whatever. Doctor Who's collectibles can be rewritten. This will be going on. I'm not going to say a growing collection of Doctor Who stuff, but I do have a TARDIS assembled out of Lego bricks, a custom build, and a sonic screwdriver, which you've probably seen before. And now, I can't believe it, I have two My Little Ponies. I'm still not. That doesn't make me a brony. One of my best contacts in the industry, Josh, he's a brony. Loves My Little Pony. I understand the fascination, but I collect different things. It's what I do. So there you go. I'm going to go ahead and put Doctor Who's right there. Yay, Doctor Who's. And this is what I get from watching Doctor Who and liking Weird Al Yankovic. Doctor Who. So behind me, you not only see Doctor Who's, but you also likely see this screen, which has 915 written on the screen, or typed on the screen, supernomies as of today. ChrisPirillo.com is where you can head over to become one of the supernomies. Get all sorts of bonuses, and I'm trying my best to better engage you and give you more of what you want. And the best thing that I have to offer at this point is my time and potentially expertise. Although I don't call myself an expert, I do have some amount of experience. So, if you want to leverage that, by all means, please be my guest. In fact, this weekend, with the questions that I'm not going to be addressing in this broadcast, I'll be addressing many of them in the podcast. We have a podcast now, I do. Really, it's just me. Over on SoundCloud.com. You can also subscribe in your favorite podcast listener, feeder, whatever the hell you want to call it. So yes, plenty more of Chris Pirillo's universe for you to have fun in, or at least listen. I mean, if you care. I'm assuming if you're listening, you care a little bit. This is a Friday, which means that it is an AMA, and patrons at a certain level get, or patrons, supernomies, get bonuses. I will also be hopefully uploading at some point this weekend Diana's iPhone 6 review, and it's really interesting what she had said, and we hadn't really talked about it up until yesterday when we recorded the video. We streamed it live. And it's unlisted. It's kind of unedited. I suppose I could share that link with some of y'all, but I wanted to kind of tighten it up, make it a bit more watchable. And so John Prosser, who is one of the best video editors that I've ever met and had a chance to work with, a pleasure to work with, really, from Front Page Tech. He's almost got 10,000 subscribers in his YouTube channel, and if you want just nothing but tech, you got to go over there. If you want general geek stuff and Chris, you got to stay here, or the blog stuff. Okay, so this is Yosemite. Doesn't look like Yosemite, it just looks like everything that you've seen every time I've broadcast here. And I installed it yesterday. This is on a 2008 Mac Pro. That's an early 2008 Mac Pro, which, in looking at the list of requirements, is seemingly the cutoff. So next year, whenever the next version of OS X is released, there would likely be a possibility that I would not be able to run the next version of OS X effectively on this computer. It's about 7 years old, just shy of a few months of 7 years old. I've pushed it about as far as I can, and it's been a beast. But it's time to retire the Mac Pro. I don't think I've announced this yet, so you are the first to hear it. Yesterday, About an hour or so after I had to cut yesterday's broadcast off short because I had to take care of the dogs. They needed their teeth cleaned. They're fine. They're doing really well, especially for their age. Older than my Mac Pro, which is kind of sad. But I ordered the iMac 5K Retina display, whatever the hell Apple's calling it. It's like 4 words long. I ordered the new 27-inch iMac with Retina display, the 5K. And, I did it because, for 2 reasons. 1, I need to upgrade. 2, I was going back and forth on whether or not I was going to go with a Mac Pro. 3, I've appreciated having this screen. As a matter of fact, one of the questions I'll be addressing, I'll just jump to it right now. One of the patrons, Alexander Pat, asks, now having owned your LG 34UM95 for a couple of months, has your opinion on it changed? Do you rate 21:9 as far as an aspect ratio goes, I'd assume? I've liked this screen, but it's difficult to look at this screen, especially in reading text. That's one thing that's jumped out at me, especially with me using a Retina display MacBook Pro. The text is very, very sharp. That's the computer that I'm running this particular live feed through every day. So there's some jaggies. And that wasn't as pronounced, I will tell you, as pronounced as it was after I upgraded to Yosemite. Yosemite switched the system font from one of my favorite fonts of all time, Lucida Grande, to Helvetica New. And I'm ambivalent on Helvetica. Generally have never been a fan of Helvetica. Is it enough to say, oh gosh, this is horrible? No, but I can tell you this. Helvetica New looks astoundingly better on a Retina display Mac anything compared to a non-Retina display Mac anything. Now, I would say, not night and day, but it's a dramatic difference. Helvetica New is just a different font. I'm not going to take away from what it is, and if you like it, that's great. It's going to take me a while to get used to. But that is where I think it would be a challenge to continue to use anything less than a Retina display on OS X. The font, the system font. A font that you just cannot route around. The differences, to me, are very, very visual. Now, I don't know if this is a bug in my monitor that I had to test, but after I turn it off for the night, I do turn off the monitor because there's no reason to waste any energy. When I turn it on again, for about maybe a half hour or so, I have this red line running through it. It's not software, it's hardware. It's like the pixels, like right along here, are just red, and it disappears eventually. It's a little annoying. I look past it. It goes away. It's not, I'm not like, oh God, I need to get rid of this monitor immediately. It was a step up from what I had before. Consumes less power. I'm fine with 1 screen instead of 2. And so basically when I got home from yesterday's live stream, and I'm talking through some of this stuff, because some of you were even asking, what do you think? What are you going to get? Although surprisingly, none of the patrons are asking what I think of Yosemite or the new options. I was not disappointed with anything Apple announced yesterday at all. I wanted a faster iPad. The only thing I really want to know is if it has more or twice as much memory as previous gen iPads, or at least the previous iPad Air. The one thing I wanted to see added to the iPad was the Touch ID, and Apple pretty much leaked that information like a day before accidentally in iBooks, which we talked about yesterday. So I wasn't disappointed. Some people were. They were expecting more. I'm like, what were you expecting? So I was really happy when they announced the iMac because I'd been eyeballing it, and I know there's, you could say, well, it doesn't have, the most modern video card. It doesn't have, this. It doesn't have that. Intel's going to be releasing processors in the next year or two. Well, there's never a good time to upgrade. Never. But as I'm looking at it, I'm sitting in front of a 2-year-old screen. The world's moving to 4K. a 7-year-old computer, a very new screen. The world's moving to 4K. I just looked at some benchmarks on Geekbench, synthetic benchmarks, admittedly. But when I got the Retina display MacBook Pro, what I noticed was it was just as fast as the Mac Pro, and that was the first time another Apple computer had been released that was faster than the Mac Pro, which had been a beast to that point. And I spec'd it out, spec'd it to the gills, the Mac Pro. So it lasted 7 years, and it had a good run. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm, I don't know if I'd strip it for parts. It's probably not worth that much. I'd probably sell the video cards inside for those who, might want it. I don't know if I'm necessarily inclined to donate the computer, sell the computer. It's probably not worth anything. Give it away, or just try to keep it within the family. So it's a knockaround, or will become a knockaround. Potentially Diana's primary machine is her old iMac, my old iMac. It doesn't have an SSD inside, and I'm not a hardware wonk. I'd have to find A, an SSD that's compatible, and B, pay to get it installed. So I don't know if it's really worth the expense of upgrading the old Macs at that point. Maybe for Diana, I don't know. So this Mac Pro, still working, but it may end up moving to Diana, as she doesn't really have a huge use case for computing like we do. So there were reasons that I eyeballed, and I think this is a good time, a Retina display, iMac. In fact, Marco Arment, and I've never said his name out loud. I said his name right? Hang on. Marco Arment. Yeah, okay, cool, awesome. I can't believe I said, what? Oh, no. I said okay, awesome, not okay, Google. Oh, no, stop. Yeah, Marco Arment. He posted something today talking about the iMac. He's got a Mac Pro. He's got a new Mac Pro, like the recent gen Mac Pros, the trash cans. And he's even eyeballing this new iMac, going, "Gosh, it's not better in every way, but it's enough for most producers out there, and especially with a 5K display. And the difference would primarily be not in the hardware as much as what it enables in software. So in editing 4K video on anything less than a 4K screen can be a challenge. But having a 5K screen allows you to see the 4K video in its native resolution, as well as seeing all the controls for video editing. So it's really a powerful machine. It's a very compelling price point. And I was like, God, 7 years. Okay, I got the old Mac Pro sponsored. I couldn't find a sponsor for the new Mac Pro, but I ended up reaching out to my friends at Parallels. I'm like, hey, I'd like to get this new iMac. Do you think we could work something out? And they said, sure. So I found at least one sponsor, a partial sponsor, to help me cover the costs of the iMac. So just so you know, you wonder, well, that's what my support goes to you to do these things? No, I try to look further. I appreciate the support that I'm given, but this is another reason I turn to sponsors to help me offset costs that isn't the computer dead? No, but it's 7 years old. And in looking at the benchmarks, the single core 32-bit and 32-bit and 64-bit performance is double, or in many cases, more than double the performance in the newer iMac, the top of the line 27-inch 5K iMac, compared to my Mac Pro. So it's going to be faster, demonstrably faster than what I have. And that's usually the time that I want to upgrade to a new system. I don't like making incremental upgrades for my traditional desktop machines. So I do plan on, I ordered it, let's see here, Parallels helped, and I really appreciate that. So expect to hear more talk about Parallels, including some giveaways. The unboxing will be supported by Parallels, and in that line, I think we're also going to be giving away some licenses for Parallel, the new version of Parallels, which I'll be using, if only to test Windows 10 for the first time. So how did I spec it? Hang on, I can actually pull it up, the order here, theoretically. Well, it's spec to the gills. I'll just say that it is spec to the gills. Like I went all out. Like there was no, I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I'm hoping. Now I was able to push the Mac Pro 7 years. I don't think I can push an iMac 7 years. I think I could push an iMac 3 years as a primary desktop machine. In 3 years, I'll reevaluate. Like, I would upgrade when there are new input ports. I would upgrade, if the video card was, better and, more efficient, if the CPU speeds were dramatically different. 3 years is as far as I think I'm going to push that particular iMac. But it still leaves me with some iMacs line. David DeFranco has my old Mac computers. David Banther ended up connecting him with those old machines. He installed Yosemite on one of my first MacBook Pros, an old 17-incher. Isn't that cool? And I think it's kind of neat. So Yosemite does run on these older machines, but features are missing, specifically because of older versions of Bluetooth. I've also run into a problem with a couple of apps. I would say that the UI is kind of sluggish in spots on Yosemite. with my old Mac Pro, it's definitely, I'm not thrilled with some of the performance of Yosemite. At least on the Mac Pro, I didn't feel like I got a faster machine or more responsive machine or anything that was better other than new features that I could be using. But I won't be using Yosemite on the Mac Pro for too long. Maybe I should reach back to David and ask, hey, I've got some other old Macs. You down? David want to add them to his Apple museum. So anyway, I got a new computer. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? Because I didn't. You're welcome to do what you want to do. I don't need to have the latest of everything. I just know that most of my experience is going to be in software, and I want a really good screen. I want good support, and I'm willing to make sacrifices. And this is coming from a guy who used to upgrade his video cards in the days of like Matrox and Diamond. And I mean, I used to look forward to new video cards, and because I could see the difference in performance. Anymore, you gotta find a balance, and everyone wants something different. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I really like the fact that people who are on the ground to see the screen said that it's a beautiful screen, because that's what you're doing with the computer or a monitor. You're looking directly at it. There was a question of whether or not, and this is something to throw out there too for people doing research. Marco's got a great article on it. I'll link it in the video description. Sorry, I know this was supposed to be an AMA, but it's turned into me babbling about what I've done. So I asked Marco, I'm like, this is great. This is a great breakdown explaining how Apple's accomplished this, but it doesn't speak to, and he was comparing really the new Mac Pros with the iMacs, or specifically the 5K iMac. For the lack of a better term, the 5K iMac. And I think the value for most people in a computer is a better experience than what they have. And that is different for everybody. So let's see here. For as long as I can remember, I've been running at 60 hertz on my screens. Pretty much every one of them. And there's been an issue with 4K displays basically being bottlenecked by existing technologies, older or standards that have kind of moved on. But Apple is taking a different approach with the way they're doing the iMac, the 5K iMac. I asked Marco, I'm like, well, this is great. You talked about all this, but is it 30 hertz that some people have been plagued with their 4K screens connected to their Mac Pros, or is it capable of 60? Does it do 60? And he says it's 60. And Marco said it. I trust Marco. Marco's like one of the very few people that when it comes to Apple blogging, he is easily in that very, very, very tiny circle of people who knows what he's talking about. He's critical when he needs to be critical, and he walks the walk as a developer and someone who understands hardware at a significantly deeper level than most people do. So he said it's running at 60. That was my only concern with getting the new iMac. This is from Marco, his words, not mine, and I assume he knows what he's talking about. But that will have, as long as there are no other performance issues that I run into in terms of UI, like any kind of lagginess, like, I get really concerned about. When I first got the Retina display MacBook Pro, the first gen, even Anand, from Anand Tech now, from Apple, had posted that the video card is not able to keep up. Well, he was right. There were certain elements in the UI that kind of didn't seem to be as snappy, as responsive, just kind of slower. As you drag something, just slower, and it should be poo, poo, poo. And that's the easiest way to. There's my example of how I perceive things in terms of UI responsiveness. And so people had said that the 4K iMac, and I don't know which video card it was running, the one that's got 2 gigs, the one that's got 4 gigs, but they said it seemed very, very snappy. Like, all right, well, it worked for me. If they saw boots on the ground, they saw it worked well. Because when I got the Retina display MacBook Pro, it was a little laggy, but then Apple issued a couple of updates, and I don't know if they came as packages within OS 10 software updates are independent by now, but basically the responsiveness of the everything, just about everything across the board, became better with software updates. So I'd imagine Apple would be able to continue to tweak everything in firmware and software, etc., with any kind of issues that might pertain to that piece of hardware. So hopefully I'll have one of the first 5K iMacs. You'll see an unboxing. You'll see a subsequent review. I've been using Yosemite for the past few hours. Well, yesterday, and then I installed it on the computer that I'm running on now. Congratulations, you're vicariously touched by Yosemite. And it works fine. It's not, I wouldn't say it's perfect in every way. There's definitely some issues that I see. Found some neat little tips and tricks, and we'll continue to use it. I think I appreciate visual updates to OS X more than anything. I love the dark toolbar now and the menu. I toggled that. It looks nice. I like it a lot. And that's me. Everyone's different, but at least we have that option now. I'm very happy about that. Most of the icons that I have in the menu bar are ready for that particular mode, dark mode, which not all apps are necessarily going to be up to date. So, and you wouldn't be able to see them very much because some of them assume that you only have a white toolbar up top. So the review for Yosemite will be coming in this channel. I do plan on talking about it after I've had a chance to dive into it and really give it a chance to give it a full shake on a newer machine, which it will likely shine on. More so than an older machine, and my initial impressions, I would say, are positive. I don't feel like I want to roll back. I know I can get a more powerful Yosemite on a newer machine, and I'm fine with that. I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. I definitely see some issues, hopefully issues that can be corrected. Some UI bugaboos, no worse than iOS 7 or 8 though. I would say actually better, but still some legacy elements that weren't up to date or updated in the visual refresh of Yosemite. So initial impressions were good. I've been really happy with it. I think it's worth trying. If it worked on my old Mac Pro, I think it'll work on your machine. Works on my new MacBook Air or Pro. I don't have an Air anymore. Gave that away. So yeah, my initial impressions were positive. I think it's worth trying, and it's free. I don't think you're really losing anything by moving to Yosemite, and especially if you have another iOS device. Although handoff doesn't seem to be working well. And I think Apple assumes that you're no longer going to be connecting your computer by way of a wired connection. And I'm at the point now where I'm even thinking about, okay, well, with the new Mac, the iMac that's got 802.11 AC support, I'd be more than willing to go full wireless on that. I still have legacy 802.11n support on the MacBook Pro that you're running through. So I'm not as inclined, if only because of network speeds, to go wireless if I have a chance. I mean, when I'm streaming live, I want to have a wired connection. I don't want there to be any chances of issues in transmission when it comes to video. And every once in a while, audio skips, as you very well know, and I don't know why. Could be. I think it's largely related to the software, which is at this point old. I do plan on testing Wirecast's new software as it continues to roll out. It should make or hopefully mitigate some of the issues I've had with their older software. Mark Hyder. Now that I'm at the point now where I can do the AMA, or at least attempt to. Thank you for your patience. I think everyone appreciates everything I talk through. And like I said, if I can't answer any questions in this AMA, what'll happen is they'll roll over into the podcast recorded this weekend. All right. Mark Hyder asks, what type of users use an iPad mini? Users like Diana. And she doesn't use her iPad mini all that much, honestly. She's on her phone more than anything. The iPad mini every so often, but not as much anymore. She's busy with Jedi, and so she's got her phone on her, and that's working well enough. So iPad mini could be for a traveler. It could be for just a casual user, someone who doesn't necessarily need a big screen, doesn't need the machine spec'd out. They're fine with the iPad mini. The only reason I would upgrade to a newer iPad mini is not because of the spec, like the raw hardware, or the speed and the internals, apart from Touch ID. Touch ID, I believe, is worth upgrading to because it works and it's convenient, and I like using it. So it's easy, and it doesn't work all the time. Don't get me wrong, but in terms of everything else that's out there, it's a step in the right direction. So the type of users who use an iPad mini could be power or casual. Now that they have a Retina display, now that they have a Touch ID, maybe you want something compact. Maybe you don't need the fastest thing out there. You just need something that works and it works for you and has a better price point for you. So it's difficult for me to nail down what kinds of users use an iPad mini. I'm the kind of guy that I like perf, and I'm the kind of guy who's going to turn around and sell or move on down the line these older devices, keep them within the house until they're worth nothing. And and then upgrade to the newest gens, if only because speed. I'll do that on tablets and smartphones. I won't do that as much with computers because they're bigger, clunkier, there's more involved, costs more, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and Google has made it possible for you to order new stuff too today. What is it? The 9 and the 9 and the hang on. The 9 and the what is it? The what is their conduit? Their media conduit? I don't know what their media conduit is. The thing that you plug into the TV, their new Google TV, which is impulse buy territory. Although I don't know. I'm thinking about getting it. I don't know yet. I'm still debating. What I'm going to do with that. But I can tell you that the hope, my hope, is that I'm going to be able to earn or exchange some of the free points for these sorry, I'm like doing wacky things here. I'm trying to look up information and handle 13 things at the same time. It's not always easy. I apologize. This is live. Feature points. So go.tagjag.com/free points. They allow you to exchange points for iPads or iPad mini, and it may be first-gen iPad mini, as well as the Nexus 7, which I guess is no longer for sale. So I'm hoping they'll allow me to exchange points for the Nexus 9, or potentially even the Nexus 6. If they allow me to exchange points for either one of those, I'll probably exchange some of my points for that. Because it's like, why spend the money on something if you can earn and exchange points? Cole McNamara says, new face paint idea. The Inquisitor from Star Wars Rebels. That's a great idea. It's been a while. I mean, Maul was the last one that I woo! Maul was the last one that I upgraded to. God, where's my mind? I sneeze and my brains fly out. Maul was the last one that we did, which was pretty cool. Lauren helped do that. She pretty much did it. Helped. She was the one who drove it. I gave her my face. But Inquisitor would be pretty neat. I'll ask Lauren if she wants to do the Inquisitor. He's still a pretty new character. We really haven't seen much about him, but I haven't even watched the version of Star Wars Rebels that certain subscribers get access to. But at some point in the near future, hopefully this weekend, I'll be able to. Todd Donna asks, maybe you have been asked this before, but if you could go back in time, what would you change and why? I have been asked that before, and I don't know what I would change. I really don't, because one thing leads to another, and my life, however imperfect, is I don't. If I change one thing, everything else could change, and I don't want to think. I don't want to think that. I don't want to go down that path, because I just don't know. We all have, I think, at some certain points in the past, made mistakes, and had issues that we wish we didn't have. But if we kind of look past where we were, we can better value where we are. But you got to look past those things, or try to, and it's not always easy. So my answer is, if I could go back in time, what would I change? I probably wouldn't. I don't want I mean, I wish certain things about my life were different, but not to the point where I feel like it could change anything in the past and it would have any impact. Alexander, I already addressed his question because it was relevant earlier in the conversation. Sky's the Limit 5154, aka Scott Yonomura, asks, being someone that is interested in starting a podcast, what hardware and software would you suggest using as a startup, and how would you suggest using said methods? Years ago, we had all this gigantic equipment. It was great. I mean, the quality was amazing. Microphones that were dedicated microphones, everything was good, but it was so clunky. And I lost interest. And then with the podcast that you can listen to on SoundCloud, you get a feel for it. I was just recording on the phone's microphone, which isn't great, but John Prosser ended up doing a bit of post on it, and it worked well. It worked fairly well, I think. It wasn't perfect, but he said if you can get a hold of another microphone, you should do that. So what I did was I tweeted, should I here, I'm going to pull out the box. I guess I have it over here yet. I tweeted, hey, John recommended this Rode microphone to plug into my iPhone. Now, it's not perfect. It's not amazingly awesome, but in terms of quality, better than your smartphone's built-in microphone. Certainly the iPhone's built-in microphone. So it's a lavalier. I can, work wirelessly or, untethered from any kind of outlet. And it's simple. It's easy. It's compact. It's clean. It's efficient. And it's higher quality. So my recommendation, hardware and software, go simple. Simple. Because if the more complex you make it, the less likely you're going to want to do it again in the future. This is one of the reasons, or another reason why I've gone with SoundCloud, because it's easy to host there. It's got the social aspect of it. Upload, I'm good to go. People can share, people can reshare. They can, comment at certain parts of the audio feed. It's got iOS apps. It's got Twitter cards. So it's a full featured, to me, it's a full featured app, just waiting for full podcasting support. That's still in beta right now. I only have one bug that I've run into that I've reported. The album art isn't necessarily showing up if you're not subscribed to the podcast. So simple. Use your smartphone. There are like a dozen or more, if not hundreds of apps to record audio, and then you convert the audio to MP3 potentially, unless your app has MP3 conversion natively. Rode has, I think for $6, Rode, the same company that does this, they have a recorder, which hasn't rated well by the users, or hasn't been rated well by the users, but I didn't spend any money on it. I exchanged the points on go.tagjack.com/free points to get it, because you can get any app for free. They'll get you a redeem code. So I ended up getting the Rode Rec app. I was told the other day that it's not Rode, but because it's got a line through it, it's Rode or something like that. I don't know. I'm American. The Rode. The microphone that has the O/letter in it, if it's a letter. Is it a number? I don't know. I don't know that letter. But it has native export to MP3 directly from your phone. $6. I mean, earn the points. Don't if you don't have to pay for something, don't. Honestly, if you feel that you can get by with not paying for something, it's great. If you want what it has to offer, pay for it. I mean, it's like bonuses. If you get the TL, everyone gets the TL or you want bonuses? Pay for it. I mean, this is not, to me, it's not rocket science, right? You want coffee? Pay for it. You want an app that does exactly what you want it to do, accept no substitutions, or let me put it this way, you could use 4 free apps and waste more of your time instead of just spending $5-6 on an app that saves you time. Or exchange points and not pay anything and do it legally. It just blows me away. So there are apps that you can use that make it easier for you to manage. I would say audio quality is paramount when it comes to recording. So the mic is a good thing to start with. But I was able to do the podcast that you can listen to right now on the iPhone mic. And then the next podcast allegedly is going to sound better because I'm going to be using this mic this weekend to record the next podcast, which will be posted another week from now. The patrons at a certain level get the podcast like a week ahead of time. So that's bonuses, right? If you can wait for the podcast, wait. If you can't, become a patron. Get a bonus. God, I don't understand how I could have been any more open or with the way that I think it could work for everybody, but that's okay. People are strange. Smart Lab Plus. Listen to the podcast that I save right up front or somewhere within it that I'm going to be using the mic during the podcast recording, and then you'll know. That's how you'll know I'm using this mic. Otherwise, if you ask me, what mic are you using, Henry? Now you know. Unless you didn't watch this TLDR, in which case you're wondering, I don't know. Ryan Reeves. And I'm probably going to be talking a bit about, or maybe even referencing this conversation that we had. Not really a two-way conversation necessarily, in the podcast, because I don't want to detail that I'm getting the new iMac, in the podcast if I've already said it in TLDR. Ryan Reeves asks, have you tried fermentation without representation, Imperial Pumpkin Porter by Epic Brewing yet? If not, do it. It's delicious. Possibly could braise some short ribs with it too. Anyways, yeah, another brew question. Ryan, love your brew questions. The only pumpkin porter I've tried I didn't like. I would be willing to try a pint. I would. If it's Imperial, I'd give it a shot. I tend to like the Imperials. I do appreciate a stout. The pumpkin flavor, though, not sold on. So I will look for it. Thank you for the recommendation. Fermentation without representation. Fantastic. Be interesting, too, to drink a beer during the podcast. Everyone grab a beer or your favorite beverage. And like, I'm drinking an X today. This is amazing. I love this. And then by the end of the podcast, I'm incoherent. Quilvio Lopez asks, do you think the iPod Touch should be updated? I know so many people who still use it and would love for Apple to release a 6th gen. Should it be updated? Yes, it should be updated. Will it be updated? I don't know. I genuinely do not know. I think the smartphone has supplanted a lot of needs that the iPod Touch, addressed. And that's not to say that you just go out and buy an iPhone. I mean, it's going to be pricier, right? Are you going to get a service that you don't necessarily need? A wireless carrier service you may not need for that use case. But will they update the iPod Touch? I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. If only because of the proliferation of smartphones and usage. And then, of course, with the Apple Watch coming out, a lot of those things that people may have been using their smartphone for or their iPod Touch for may move on to the watch. So the iPod it's got a use case, an absolute use case, but should they? Yes, they should. Will they? I don't think they will. That's my opinion. I don't have any insider information. I'm just saying that it's marginalized. The need for it is not as great as it used to be. In general, I'm not saying you don't need it. I'm not saying your friends don't need it. I'm just saying the need in general, it's not there. To play MP3s, hello, every smartphone. And what do you have on you? So John Whitaker asks, hey Chris, what accomplishments are you most proud of that you've done in life so far? Starting a business, hosting a TV show, hosting a radio show, writing a book, being married to Diana, that's an accomplishment, raising 2 wonderful dogs, and then, of course, giving birth to Jedi, or at least helping Diana give birth to Jedi. I was part of it. She did most of the work, if not all the work. Okay, she did all the work. I just donated. That's all I did. Right, Pixie? Right, baby girl? Everywhere we go with these 2, your dogs are so well behaved. Good upbringing. So as long as we can train Jedi like we trained you, I'll be good to go. I mean, what's the difference between dogs and pets? Is there a difference? 2 more questions, because I wanted to get to the patrons, give them the benefit of being a part of this. The other questions asked AMA in the Facebook thread, which people aren't paying attention to because they accuse me of not answering the questions. I'm like, well, then you're not listening. Gary asks, hello, Chris. How's your family doing? Very well. He says, I hope well. Yes, very well. My question to you, why did Apple put an extra row of apps on the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, but not the iPad Air 2? Fantastic question. I do not know. I do not know why they're treating the iPad differently than the iPad 6 Plus. Maybe they will. Maybe a future update to iOS will make it different, but it's the aspect ratio, it's the UI, and they feel that it needs to be a certain way. I don't know. I have issues with iOS 7 and 8. I do. And, I think a year down the road, it is possible, even though I have not touched one yet, it is possible that I'll go to the bigger screened iPhone. It's possible, depending on features. It really, that's what's going to drive me. I'm waiting for a lot of my favorite apps to be updated and optimized for those bigger screens. But a year down the road, that shouldn't be an issue with most of the apps that I would use on a regular basis. Carlos Araujo asks, hello, Chris. Watched Star Wars Episode 4 again, this time with my little bro. His first time, and I really enjoyed it. Both my bro and I were lolling at the scene where Han and company are rescuing Leia. At one point, the door opens and the stormtroopers run away from Han Solo. Why did they run away from him? I assume they don't have guns, or didn't have guns. Very odd. And then in a scene, seconds later, they all regroup and realize they should be chasing him. Han also turns around and starts running away from them, and they chase him. Can you clarify what happened? Or was it really meant to be funny? Thanks. This gives me a chance to do another product view. I got these They're the Story of Darth Vader playing cards in a collectible Darth Vader case. Did not have this. Yay, collectibles! Something that's worth more than this tortilla, which is half eaten. That's my lunch. It's a good lunch. Diana, her mom made that homemade tortilla. So, what happened? My guess, element of surprise. You know, if you've got an aggressor coming at you, the first thing you're likely going to do is run away. Oh my God, I don't want to get, what's going on? I don't know what's happening, until you can gain control or have the higher ground. So, as Han's like aggressing, you run away. Whoa, okay, I'm running away. Until the stormtroopers realize that they have more people and more power on their side than this individual. And then Han realizes, whoa, okay, I'm out. I can't handle that many stormtroopers. Just 2, I thought I could handle. It's an element of surprise. It's aggression, and it's humorous too. So I would say all those things combined. That's a complete guess. By the way, apparently, this is a factoid of the day. The first name of Emperor Palpatine has been revealed as Sheev. Sheev. Some people are upset about that. Doesn't bother me a bit. It's Sheev. No different than Anakin, Lando, Obi-Wan. I mean, the Star Wars universe is replete with unique names. Nothing wrong with Sheev. There you go. Someone asks you, what's the Emperor's first name? You say Sheev. And you knew this because you watched a very long live broadcast from Chris Pirillo today. Thank you again for all your support. The likes are appreciated. I know it's sometimes a hassle to press the like button, but it just lets me know you're out there. It really does. So thank you for taking the time to do that and listening to the entire broadcast, which every day it's like a podcast with visuals. Me waving my arm around in my hand. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and move on to the live Q&A with you and me. Today, answering the question, what do you look for in a sci-fi show? Fantastic question. In fact, those types of questions may end up floating into the classic channel. I've talked about this in a loose sense. Rebooting the LockerGnome channel to be more advice-driven, answering questions like that, giving advice, giving suggestions. And I mean, targeted answers that way. And then I would figure out other questions to answer in these particular Q&As with you and me in this channel. And then the vlog at Vlog 1000 may end up moving into a new channel altogether, like entirely. A completely dedicated vlog channel at vlog number 1000. That's what I'm thinking. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So, yeah, it's all an experiment. Just trying. Just, thank you for following me where you do. Then anything else? Showed you the Darth Vader there. I'm going to hold on to this one. Okay, there's Dark Side. I'm sorry. He's from the Dark Side. Dork Side Toys sent me the 6-inch Darth Vader. I've been waiting for this guy forever. I'm planning on unboxing him, but I don't want to do it until I get a second one to keep within the box. But dorksidetoys.com sent this to me. Thank you very, very much. I'll probably bring it up again on Monday's TLDR, only because I know a lot of people didn't tune into the broadcast. I want Dorkside Toys to get the credit. So thank you for being you. I hope you're happy. And as long as it doesn't come at the cost of somebody else's happiness. If nobody else has told you today, I love you, I believe in you, and I appreciate you. At this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.